Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for we'll take a cup of kindness yet for lang syne.
Now you might be sitting there saying to yourself, I think we're about 5 weeks too early for that song. Well, it turns out to be that we're not. That this Sunday, Christ the King Sunday, 34th Sunday in Ordinary Time in the liturgical year of the church, this is New Year's Eve in the Catholic Church. This is the last Sunday of this current church year. The new church year starts next Sunday with the first Sunday of Advent. And you know, when we actually get to the end of December, as we look for those first couple of days of January, we usually make resolutions. And many times for the new year, calendar year, the resolutions we make has to do with our health. A lot of people will say for New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to cut back on my portions, I'm going to start to walk or to work out or to run. I'm going to do something to make myself a healthier person. That's great. That's a good idea. But when it comes to our spiritual life, we should make the same style of resolution. As we are now dealing with the end of the church year today, looking forward to the start of the new church year next Sunday, we should say to ourselves, I have to find ways to make myself a better human being. I have to get rid of my rough edges. I have to just jettison those things that keep me from being a great husband or great wife or son or daughter, a student or employee. I gotta up my game. What kind of things can I do to become a better person? Well, I received some advice from a college professor I had in college many, many years ago. And I'll never forget what this professor did. One day he walked into the classroom, we're sitting there. He has a jar of water, and he puts the water on his desk. The water looks something like this. It was just a simple glass of water, 12-ounce glass of water. And the professor looked at us, his students, and this is a philosophy course, and he said to us, how much does a 12-ounce glass of water weigh? Well, many of us yelled out at the same time, 12 ounces. That seemed like the obvious answer. 12 ounces is 12 ounces. That's what it weighs. But then he said to us, no, that wasn't the answer. And he said to us this. He said, if you have, and he picked it up off of his desk, if you take a 12-ounce glass of water, you have it in your hand, and you hold it straight out for about 2 seconds, it weighs just 12 ounces. Not that difficult at all. He said, but if you take that 12-ounce glass of water, you have it in your hand, and you stick it out, and you try to hold it there for 5 minutes, the weight becomes pretty burdensome. It starts to weigh or feel like a couple pounds. You'll notice your hands start to drop a little bit. He then said, if you have that same glass of water, and you put it in your hand, and you try to stand there for 1 hour, it's near impossible. It's going to feel like 30, 40, 50 pounds. Your hand's going to start to drop. Your arm's going to start to wiggle, and you might even drop the glass of water. And this was the answer he gave us to the question, how much does a 12-ounce glass of water weigh? And his answer was this. It all depends how long you'll hold it. And he's right. Now, the same thing is true in our lives. For a lot of things we should get rid of before we enter the new church year. If you have hatred in your heart, you might have had that hatred for some time. This is a good time to get rid of hatred before we start the new church year. For how much does hatred weigh? The answer to that question is, it depends how long you hold it. If you've been holding on to hatred for a long time, it usually takes a smile off your face. It makes life difficult. It makes a sunshiny day look cloudy. Get rid of that hatred before we start the new year. That should be your New Year's resolution. If you have anger in your heart, You might have anger in your heart for something, someone, a group of people. Get rid of it. What good does anger do you? Because anger probably affects your attitude. And affects your attitude, affects the family, it affects the home, it puts a cloud over your head. For how much does anger weigh? It's just like water. The answer is, it depends how long you hold it. If you have animosity in your heart, how much does animosity weigh? It just depends how long you hold it. Get rid of that animosity. Animosity doesn't do you any good at all. It just makes you an angry person. It just darkens your soul. It just darkens your personality. Get rid of it. What good's it doing? Animosity. Is you doing any good at all? If you have the inability to forgive someone, and you haven't been able to forgive someone, do it now. Right now, this Sunday. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. One day this week, because officially, when we start Mass next Saturday night, the Vigil Mass for Sunday, that starts the new church year. Start fresh. Jettison those ugly attributes that you might be holding on to. Oh, you might be saying, but I have a reason not to forgive someone. Well, we all have a reason not to forgive someone, because if someone has hurt you, you say to yourself, I can't forgive them. But here's the problem. The gift of forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. Whatever someone did to you or a member of your family that you find difficult to forgive, that was an action that occurred on a certain day, at a certain time, at a certain moment. But it's over. Now your inability to forgive that person, that malaise that occurs and sits out in your stomach, why that's your fault, because you haven't just said, no, I'm going to let it go. Just let it go. You might say, I'll never forget. But that's okay. You don't actually have to forget, but if you can forgive, but you can't forget every time you remember, let it go. Just let the thing go. For how much does it weigh? You know what happens is when we have anger and hatred and animosity in our hearts, it really affects everything you do. You might know some folks in your life, in your circle, that are dealing with anger and hatred and animosity. It comes out in their conversation, in their words. Usually they offer no jokes at all. Usually when you see them at the store, you can almost predict what they're going to say, because they've been saying the same stuff for years. This person did this. This one did that. I'm never going to forgive him. I'm never going to forgive her. And what good does it do? If it made you a better person, if it made the world a better place to live, if it made Lowell have more sunshine, great, hold on to your anger. But that is never the case. Anger and hatred and animosity, the inability to forgive, they're corrosive. They're destructive. They destroy, they ruin. So our challenge is this, as we prepare for the new church year next Sunday. Make a resolution, especially if you are, and maybe a lot of you aren't, which is just great. But if you're dealing with hatred and you've had it for a while, if you're dealing with anger and you've owned it for a while, if you're dealing with animosity and been chewing on it for a while, if you're dealing with the inability to forgive and that has hurt you for a long time, get rid of those things. Because a professor, many years ago when I was in college, held up a 12-ounce glass of water and he said to us, how much does a 12-ounce glass of water weigh? And then he gave us the answer. It all depends how long you hold it. How much is anger, hatred, animosity, the inability to forgive, how much do those things weigh? And the answer is the same. It all depends how long you hold it.